Okay, so I'm still alive, and we're gonna have some cat cuddle time while I talk about some stuff that's been happening. Obviously, my desk is a little different for those of you coming back to the channel. I had a huge DIY project in July where I was taking my walk-in closet and turning it into a small office, and taking my art storage closet and shoving all my clothes in there. So that's why I got a bit of a desk upgrade, and that is also where all of the craziness started, because right after that I had a big craft fair that I had to prepare for at the end of August, and a few other things in the fall with both of my part-time jobs that just kind of ate up all of my time. So I did disappear, but hopefully I'm back with more consistent videos for the foreseeable future. I'm also hoping to eventually get some art videos instead of just bullet journal content onto the channel next year, and I do think that is going to be one of my goals for 2025. But I will go over that in another video when I finally set those 2025 goals. That will probably be in my January 2025 setup video. Anyways, on to the actual video. The cat will come back, but for now we're going to focus on this vivid scribble journal that I'm using because I really like the quality of them, and they have 200 pages, which seems to get me through the whole year, and they are still 160 GSM, which tends to be the sweet spot for me with paper. I don't typically do a lot of very intense art in my bullet journals. Mostly I just use water-based markers, but this paper really holds up to that, especially multiple layers of marker color. And the only thing that I have to complain about is the faux leather journals can get scratched up pretty easily. I found that out in 2023, so I'm just taking some book contact paper and covering the cover so that I can protect it a little better. Next, I'm going to write my name in the front cover, and of course, my sister's cat Oreo once again just had to see what I was doing, and he didn't understand why I wasn't petting him, because of course that's the only thing that should have mattered. And I did not get this on camera, but the Vivid Scribbles journals do come with a key page and a few index pages, but I never actually used them, so I cut them out and then tape the leftover pages together so you can't see them. And then of course I wanted to do a quote in the front of the journal to kind of set the tone for the year, and my quote for this year is from Andy Warhol, and it says, "Don't think about making art, just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, if they love it or hate it. While they are deciding, make even more art." I felt that was fitting since I'm trying to make the time for myself to get back to art in 2025, so I just wanted to keep that in mind going forward into next year. I'm also just going to decorate the edges of this page with some large irregular shapes of color with some plant vines going through it. I'm trying to keep the overall theme for this year very simple so I can focus my artistic energy on other projects that I want to film for the channel and do for myself. So the whole theme for this year is basically going to be very simple themes that I think I can do with my Crayola Super Tips and a fine liner essentially. Next, I have my year at a glance. Last year I had mini calendar stickers, and this year I just have my little calendar stamps. I don't remember where I got these from. I think I just picked it up off Amazon at one point, but I will try and link that in the description if I can. But all of my weeks start on a Monday, just because I like to have both weekend days in one spread, since my social plans tend to go from a Saturday into a Sunday. But the great thing about these stamps is that you can really use them in any way you need, because they give you 7 different months that are 31 days long that start on every spot of the week. So you can just rub off the numbers that you don't need, like if a month ends on 30 or 28 instead of 31, and then you're good to go. I also have a future log on a separate page for upcoming events. Last year, my future log included the micro calendars, which I did on a Dutch door spread, which means I didn't have a separate year at a glance and future log, but I found myself wanting to flip back to just the calendars a lot while I was setting up my monthlies and weeklies, but I didn't want to show my future log with all of my plans and dates and doctor's appointments on camera filled in, which is why I wanted to separate these pages this year. This spread was pretty simple. It was just 12 boxes, one for each month of the year, with light decorations at the top of each box and then the month number. I chose this kind of spread out cursive font as my header for each title page in this setup spread, but looking back on it, I do think that it kind of gets a little lost in the rest of the designs, and this gets more and more apparent as we go forward and I add more decorations around the page. So if I had the chance to do this again, that is something that I would probably change. I would choose a bit more of a substantial font, but I didn't want to go crazy and like print out headers or anything like that, because again, I want to focus on doing things that are simple and I can essentially achieve with a pen and marker. Okay, this next spread I have not done before, which you can tell because I immediately put the wrong years on this spread and the next spread, which is supposed to be my 2025 goals. And I do catch that and I do fix it. Don't worry, don't at me in the comments. But I was getting inspiration from Jashi Curran when I was trying to figure out what spreads to put in my setup pages. And one thing that she mentioned was having a review page for the previous year. So I know it says 2023 review, but it's gonna be a 2024 review spread where I kind of decided what I wanted to put on this page before I set it up, so I knew how to lay it out. One of those things that I wanted to include was a list of setup spreads that I used in my 2024 bullet journal, and then have a column for whether or not I used them and they were useful. For instance, in 2024, I had a 24 to do in 2024, or 24 things to do 24 times, whether that was practice my guitar or watch a movie from the Academy Award winners' Best Pictures list, and I just did not use it. It was really hard for me to remember to go back and keep track of this, and it just kind of ended up as wasted space. So I decided not to bring a spread like that over into my 2025 bullet journal setup. Another thing that I thought about was my bullet journal theme. I was definitely adventurous with my theme for 2024 because I wanted to do a book cover design for every month. In 2023, I did a Norse animal bookmark design for every month, and I was able to keep up with that very well, and I definitely wanted to try and step it up, but I failed miserably at that because I started working at my second part-time job, and both of my part-time jobs got very busy and demanding around the same times, so my bullet journal fell very far behind. So in 2025, I want to focus on, again, simple themes that you can do with a marker and a pen. And I also have a space to take a note of where I'm at with my 2 main goals for 2024 and whether or not I achieved them, areas in my life that I want to improve, and then big wins from 2024 that I want to keep with me moving forward. I almost didn't put that in. I had a needs improvement section, and then I had to forcefully remind myself to take the wins where I got them. It's so much easier to focus on the things you did wrong rather than celebrate the things you did right. So keep that in mind when you're doing your own reflections. You have to spend some time to celebrate what you accomplished. Then, of course, I have my 2025 goals page. I've left this blank for now because I really want to sit and think about this over December and then decide what I want to focus on and how to arrange this spread. Now, to fix the wrong years on this spread, what I'm going to do is just cut out a piece of bullet journal paper from extra paper in the back of my 2024 bullet journal and glue it over the incorrect numbers and then just put the correct numbers on top. So very easy fix, not the end of the world, just very dumb mistake to do. But you know, you live and you learn, no one's perfect. So quick fix and then we're moving on. Next, I have my loans and savings spread. I always think this is a good idea to have a spread like this so you know what you have to chip away at, especially if you have loans or debts or things like that. I used this spread this year and paid off one of my smaller loans completely, which I am very proud of. But I can't fill this out until January because I won't know the exact state of my various loans in 2025 until 2025 starts. After that, I have a mood blanket project that I want to do in 2025. Basically, I'm going to try and knit or crochet 1 row every day with a different color depending on what my mood was for that day. I've created an emotion circle so it will be easier for me to keep track of what each mood will fall under and how to categorize them. I've also kind of made a color scheme with the yarn that I'm going to use, which is also the color scheme of my setup pages. I will admit that in 2024 I was terrible at filling out my year in pixels spreads, even though I was doing pretty good at actually keeping up with what I was supposed to do, especially my Les Mis reading challenge, which I did fall behind a bit in the summer, but I'm caught up again now. And I think part of the reason why I was having trouble filling out the actual year in pixel spread was because I didn't like the format that I used. So for this mood blanket project spread, I've basically outlined every month so it's easier to tell where I need to be when I'm filling out information. And it's also kind of easier to see the whole thing in weeks. Hopefully this is something I can keep up with. I might post updates on the blanket on my Instagram every week or something if I keep up with it. I'm not quite sure yet, but we will definitely see in 2025. Next is my health spread, and I wanted to make this spread a little bit more user-friendly in a way, so I'm not taking on too much all at once. So I made a box for each month where I can set my own health goals depending on how the year is progressing. I feel like a lot of times when I start something like this specifically for exercise and health, I just try and take on too much at once and then I can't keep up with it. So I wanted to try and make small, achievable goals that can change month to month to reflect my progress or even lack of progress. For instance, 1 month my goal might just be to take my dog for a walk at least every other day. If I do that well, I might upgrade that goal to every day or twice a day, depending on how well I was able to keep up with my previous goal throughout that month. It also goes the same way if I don't reach that goal. If I set a goal of walking my dog twice a day and I can't meet it, I might go back to walking my dog once a day and then kind of restarting from that point so I don't lose all momentum completely. I also have a space on the bottom of the spread for my stats, essentially, so I can keep track of my weight as the year progresses, and I also have a space to keep track of my waist measurements. I feel like I get discouraged from healthy habits sometimes when I don't see a lot of progress, but progress doesn't always reflect in the number because you are also gaining muscle as you lose fat. So that number isn't like the end all be all. So I just have a space to keep track of both just because I'm curious, honestly, and hopefully it will encourage me to keep up these habits. Alright, fair warning for those who don't menstruate, you can totally skip this section because we are about to get a little bloody. So after my health spread, I have my period tracker. I don't really see anyone else setting up their period trackers like this, and I didn't really think about sharing it when I made this key, to be honest, but it is something that really helps me record a lot of information very easily, so I wanted to explain it step by step. If I'm kind of in my pre-period and I'm just spotting, I'll put a dot. If I'm on my period and it's fine, like obviously I'm on my period, but I'm not in crippling pain, I'll put a circle. On days where I have to carry around a heating pad and drink chamomile tea nonstop, I put a square because that shape is pointy, and in my head that means, hey, this day hurt. I also keep track of how much I'm bleeding with how filled in the shape is. If it's a normal amount, I do a loose hatching. If it's a lot, or if I'm clotting really bad, I will fill in the shape completely. Then I've just, again, outlined each month so that I can fill in the date because I did not like the year in pixels style that I did my last period tracker on because it was hard to find patterns in weeks because the information just wasn't organized in weeks. Since my cycle doesn't quite sync up with a whole month, it was hard to find patterns when it was laid out that way. So I've put just the outline of the month here to hopefully be able to recognize the kind of patterns that I'm looking for. Next, I have my self-care for bad days spread. If I am feeling off or moody, this is a page I can flip to try and figure out what's wrong. I have a list of questions at the top that I can ask myself, like, when was the last time you ate? Or when was the last time you saw sunshine? Or is it way too hot or cold and you're miserable because of it? I fully admit that I might be a plant that needs constant temperature control to survive. I find that if I can identify the cause of the problem, I can normally fix it. Like, if I haven't eaten and I'm just hangry, then I go and get a snack. Or a meal if I was dumb and just forgot to eat lunch again. If I can't figure out what caused my funk, or an immediate solution isn't available, like my power to change the weather is broken, I can go to the bottom of the page and do one of these activities to help me break out of that mindset. The one thing I do the most often is go find a cat to cuddle. There are many cats available in my house to cuddle. So that tends to be the easiest one to do. This is a great spread that I use to help me manage my depression and my anxiety, especially because sometimes it is hard to figure out where the heck a mood is coming from. So having the go-to list of questions, even though you ask them to yourself every time, can be very helpful. Next, I have my weekly reset. It's something that I'm good with keeping up with at the beginning of the year, and then it kind of falls away as the year goes on. I have chores that I want to try and do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and then quarterly. This does not happen all the time, but I want to get better at keeping up with it because I find that having a clean space has a huge impact on my mental health. So I've also made boxes at the top to help remind me what week it is. Each black box is its own month, and then I've just numbered the weeks inside with the coral color. I kind of wish that I had kept enough room at the top to do 4 rows of black boxes, so each quarter was on its own row, because I also wanted to try and keep up with quarterly reviews this year, but I didn't think that far ahead. Honestly, I will make a note for next year if this kind of spread works. And full disclosure, I did get the idea for this spread from Jessie Curran once again, because she just has an amazing list of ideas for organization and different setup ideas. Lastly, I have my bookshelf page. This year I was actually able to read over 24 books. Right now I'm currently reading my 30th book, which I never thought I'd get to, honestly. So I'm just making a bookshelf on the page with the dark blue marker, and I don't know how, but I got off on the count for 2 separate shelves. I meant to make them 5 dot grid spaces high, but I only did 4 on 2 of them, and I didn't even notice until midway through the spread. I decided to just leave them for right now since it's not too apparent, but honestly, I don't know if I'll go back and fix it or not. I'll just have to see how the book covers fit on those shelves. If it really bothers me too much, I'll probably just go back and fix it by gluing in another dot grid page on top of the mistakes and then just redoing it. But right now, it is what it is, and I'm going to roll with it until I can see what the printed out book covers look like. On the top right side of this spread, I have a list of trips I want to take or things I want to do. I was not able to do a lot this year because I've been so busy, but I also don't want work to take over my life. I still want to have and make time to hang out with my friends and go have a little bit of fun. So I'm trying to make it a priority this coming year to get out and do something at least once a month. And here's the final flip through. Let me know what you guys think and what spreads you are doing in your bullet journal. I love hearing from you guys about what you liked and what you didn't. Hopefully, I will see you guys again soon for a December or a January setup. And thank you for coming with me to set up my 2025 bullet journal. I wish you guys the best of luck setting up your own journals, and I hope you stay creative.